stabbed Orsolya Gaal more than 50 times inside her Forest Hills home, then stuffed her. Investigators say the two had an on and off again affair for 2 years and got into some type of argument. He also worked inside the house on several occasions.
Her neck before stuffing her body in a duffel bag and dragging it to a nearby park.
Prosecutors say David Bonola stabbed Orsolya Gaal.
Today we will talk about the tragic case of Orsolya Gaal, a 51-year-old mother of two from Queens, New York City who was knifed almost 60 times in her Forest Hills home on April 16, 2022. It was a heated argument between former lovers that led to the brutal killing of Orsolya Gaal, according to NYPD officials. This is the case of Orsolya Gaal. Welcome back to True Crime Files. We send our condolences to her friends and family and hope cases like these will be prevented from happening ever again. Forest Hills, where Orsolya lived, is a mostly residential neighborhood in the central part of the boroughs of Queens in New York City. The neighborhood is lined with two-door houses and tulip trees, secluded and relaxed, and has many famous references. But who was Orsolya Gaal? Orsolya was originally from Budapest in Hungary. She was born in 1969, and she studied at the Budapest Business School College that specializes in international management and business. Orsolya was a frequent hiker, skier, traveler, and enjoyed attending live music performances. She also shared that she used to go for a long walk every morning, and she liked to visit musical theaters with her friends. She had recently helped her youngest son Leo fundraise for his bar mitzvah. Neighbors later explained the bar mitzvah was cancelled after Orsolya's husband, Howard Klein, got sick with COVID. Her sister, Christina Gaal, recently got married in May of 2021. She shared a lot of photos with her parents on Facebook as well. The family had lived in the $2 million Tudor-style home for around 9 years. Around the time of New Year's Eve, Orsolya posted a selfie of her with her husband and some palm trees in the background. She wrote, "Hoping 2022 will be a great one." Neighbors told the Post that Orsolya was devoted to her two children and family. One of the local neighbors, Theodora Grafis, who lived behind Gaal's and Klein's residence, said, "She was a lovely lady, always very attentive to her family, her kids, just an amazing person. I met her parents and sisters when they visited. I believe they were from Hungary. Orsolya was kind to people, super friendly, and took care of her kids and family." But her seemingly ideal life was brutally interrupted after she was found stabbed multiple times and stuffed in a duffel bag on April 16, 2022. The horrendous act happened less than half a mile away from the family's Forest Hills home in Queens. But what really happened on the night of April 15th? Orsolya reportedly told son Leo she was going out to see a show on Friday night. It is believed she went out to meet with another person before returning to the family home later that evening. After the show, she was seen alone at a bar in Queens. It was later confirmed Orsolya joined friends at Lincoln Center and then retreated to a local bar where she appeared to be waiting for a person who never arrived, so she eventually left. Neighbor John Blankson told the Post he saw Orsolya walking around their shared backyard with her dog on Friday, hours before her death. Neighbor John Blankson commented for the NBC Network News reports, "What a tragedy, just for everybody involved. You can't write this off. I think everyone's trying to figure out what happened. How did this happen? Why did this happen?" Another neighbor's camera on 75th Avenue recorded a video of a person dragging a duffel bag down the sidewalk towards Forest Park around 4:30 a.m. on Saturday. In a statement provided to The Independent, the NYPD explained, "Police received a 911 call at 11 a.m. on Saturday after a suspicious bag with bloodstains was spotted at the corner of Metropolitan Avenue and Jackie Robinson Parkway." How exactly was Orsolya Gaal killed? Officers found Orsolya unconscious and unresponsive inside the hockey bag, and she was pronounced dead at the scene. Police said in a statement she was killed in the basement of the home. Sources familiar with the autopsy information say Orsolya suffered nearly 60 wounds with knife wounds to her torso, neck, left arm, fingers, and hand. Slashes to her palm and fingers seemed to be defensive wounds. Surveillance footage shows a suspect who is probably a killer dragging a wheeled hockey sports bag containing her body around 4:30 a.m. on Saturday morning. The authorities theorized that the killer moved Orsolya's body so her family wouldn't see it. However, he left a bloody trail through the neighborhood that attracted a lot of attention from the public. The bag was discovered by a dog walker sometime after 8 a.m. on a frequently visited walking track on Metropolitan Avenue near Union Turnpike in Forest Hills, near a stretch of road that goes through a forest park. There was a blood trail the police followed, leading several blocks, about half a mile to an upscale gated community on Juno Street in Forest Hill, where Orsolya's home was. The police said there were no arrests yet and the investigation will be ongoing. Who could be the potential murderer of Orsolya Gaal? Orsolya had been stabbed more than 50 times in her home and her body was dragged half a mile away and dumped near to a popular walking path on Metropolitan Avenue in the early hours of Saturday morning. Orsolya did not have any ID on her at the time of the murder. Police followed the bloody trail back to the family home on Juno Street, half a mile away. They found Orsolya's son Leo alone on the upper floor of the residence. Neighbors reported that he was taken away in handcuffs by police for questioning before being released later. It was concluded he did not have any involvement in the crime. The New York Daily News reported that Orsolya's son told investigators he didn't know where his mother was. Officers have allegedly questioned another teenager who lives in the same Forest Hill neighborhood. There were no signs of a break-in at the home, and the police believe the killer was known to Orsolya from before and was holding a grudge from the past. The evidence found in the park was examined, and days later, the police arrested 44-year-old handyman David Bonola. Detectives said he had been in an unofficial relationship with Orsolya for about 2 years and had broken it off sometime before she was killed. But who is David Bonola? David Bonola, a married father of two who lived in the 114th Street in South Richmond Hill, Queens, used to go to Forest Hill's coffee shop on Austin Street regularly and tease staff women who were working there. A barista at a nearby Starbucks said that he would come up to them and ask for coffees and tell us that we look pretty and make comments about how we look. Some customers said he would sometimes give women a note or a piece of jewelry and offer to spend some time with him. Bonola also followed the Guns N' Roses guitarist Slash around and used to have curly hair and a similar style as the famous rock star. Bonola allegedly visited the United States 21 years ago and claimed a fake identity as a filmmaker. He said he remained a student of the New York School of Interior Design. Before that, he told his neighbors that he retired from the military before moving to New York City. Once he got captured by the government authorities, his real identity was discovered. Before the tragic event that Bonola was responsible for, some sources claim he was just a regular citizen of America with no criminal record. What was discovered about the murder case later on, and how did it resolve? Unnamed police sources said that, at the time, the still anonymous killer used Orsolya's phone to send more than one chilling text message to her husband in the hours after she died. The killer reportedly texted Howard Klein and said, "Your wife sent me to jail some years ago. I'm back." He also sent a scary warning, "Your whole family is next." Klein, who was traveling back to New York from Portland that day, told the New York Post that he feared him and his family were still in danger. Klein commented for the Post, "There are concerns about our safety. Our lives are at risk." Klein referred to the out-of-state trip in a tweet he later deleted. In the Post, he also mentioned hedge-funded Bill Browder's new book. He posted, "Just landed Portland or before evaluating Ann Arbor again with my 17-year-old son." No suspects have been named in the case yet, and it was not what the killer was referring to, and police described the case as mysterious. Let's go back to the morning of the murder. What did the situation look like from the perspective of a person who found Orsolya's body? Glenn Van Nostrand was outside walking his two Rhodesian Ridgebacks on Saturday morning when he stumbled across Orsolya's body in the hockey bag. He initially thought the branded bag might have been thrown away. The neighbor's suspicions were raised when his two dogs became agitated as they neared the bag, and he opened it and looked inside. Van Nostrand told the Post he thought it was a mannequin at first. It didn't look very fleshy. It was more like a crash test dummy. I thought it was maybe some equipment being used for something. I didn't think anything of it. Upon closer look, he noticed Orsolya's black jeans and waist and realized he was looking at a body. That is when he called 911. He said Orsolya appeared to be lying in the fetal position. After police showed up, he was planning to drop his dogs at home before going to the police to make a full report. However, his two dogs picked up a set of bloodstains about 100 meters away from the body. Van Nostrand said, "Some of the cops followed me and the dogs to it." That is when the police identified David Bonola, 44, as a prime suspect in her killing. The man was said to be known to her and had access to the family home. There were no signs of forced entry at the Juno Street address, and the ferocity of the attack on Orsolya suggested it was a person bearing a grudge from the past. On Monday afternoon, a computer and several other items were removed by the police from the family home in black plastic bags and boxes. The family was not at home since Saturday afternoon after the murder. The NYPD were investigating multiple suspects as they continued to hunt for Orsolya's killer. The crime scene was messy, and the police concluded the attack was not premeditated. The New York Post reported detectives wanted to speak to a repairer who was previously doing some work at the property. A law enforcement source commented for the Post, "Detectives don't think it was a planned murder. He left a blood trail for 5 blocks from the house. It was like a trail of breadcrumbs. If you want to kill somebody, you try to make it a little cleaner. Be a little more prepared. He didn't go with something to move her body. He took something from the house." On Tuesday afternoon, police were putting up posters in the streets around Orsolya's residence. They were offering a $3,500 reward for information about the homicide. Police said, on Saturday, April 16, 2022, at approximately 12:40 a.m., an unknown perpetrator stabbed a 51-year-old Orsolya Gaal multiple times, causing her death. The victim was found inside a duffel bag along Metropolitan Avenue in Queens. David Bonola was led out of a Queen precinct after police released the info that he confessed to Orsolya Gaal's murder. It was on the night of Wednesday, 20th of April 2022, that detectives went searching for David Bonola, who was 44 years old at the time. Bonola is a handyman and reportedly one of Gaal's former lovers. He was one of 3 men Orsolya contacted on the day of her murder. Tending to journalists late Thursday morning, NYPD head of investigators James Essig uncovered that Orsolya Gaal and her alleged executioner, 44-year-old David Bonola, had started an intimate affair quite a while back when the jack-of-all-trades began taking care of business at the family's Forest Hills home. Essig, a career cop born and raised in Queens, and a veteran who was an assistant chief in 2021, was promoted the same year, a year before the murder of Orsolya, to chief of detectives in NYPD. He got his police start in Upper Manhattan as a patrol cop before serving stints in the Bronx, Brooklyn, and his home borough. Police Commissioner wrote in a statement, "Chief Essig's commitment to the public good and his vision for fair, effective policing has seen our city through its historic crime reductions. His experiences make him uniquely suited to carry on the department's work in fighting violent crime. I am proud to announce his promotion to Chief of Detectives." Essig said Bonola had worked discontinuously for Orsolya throughout those equivalent 2 years. He explained Orsolya Gaal and Bonola had a hit-or-miss relationship and further affirmed the two had gotten into a dispute about the cutting off of that friendship early Saturday morning. The contention in the home cellar started when Bonola purportedly wielded a blade. Essig said, "A violent struggle ensues, resulting in our victim being stabbed ruthlessly and brutally in excess of 55 times, causing her demise. It is alleged that Bonola stuffed Orsolya's body into the hockey equipment bag of her son and rolled it 9 blocks before a man walking his dogs found it just before 8 a.m. Blood trickled from the pack as he wheeled it down the walkway, leaving a path officials later followed back to Orsolya's home. Bonola found the detectives before they could find him. He reportedly approached them and said, 'I heard you're looking for me.' Essig explained, after disposing of the body, Mr. Bonola fled through Forest Park, where investigators discovered the jacket believed to be worn by him during this vicious crime.
We believe that after disposing of the body, Mr. Bonola fled through Forest Park, where investigators discovered the jacket believed to be worn by him.
Investigators likewise learned another person found a couple of boots, a shirt, and bloody bandages that supposedly belonged to Bonola. According to some online sources, one of the key findings that helped locate the person responsible was an alleged note that the killer himself would have left on the family refrigerator, and in which he recommended that the family look for a new handyman. Specialists found Bonola was treated at the emergency clinic Saturday for wounds to his 2 hands. According to Essig, on Wednesday evening, there was an encounter between the police and Bonola. The investigators searching Orsolya's neighborhood for potential eyewitnesses and additional surveillance footage of her killer approached Bonola. He was recognized by investigators as the man who was wanted for questioning in the case. When back at the police area, Bonola supposedly made incriminating statements about the Saturday early daytime killing. Essig told correspondents. He was taken to the 112th district where he talked to police and reportedly confessed to killing Orsolya Gaal. Bonola was officially arrested on April 21st and charged with murder in the case of Orsolya and gave police a direct matter-of-fact confession to the murder. The authorities reported that Bonola's statement, it was very practical, very concrete, and answered all the questions they had. The district attorney's press release said the following. Days later, the defendant offered to speak to police and during questioning made incriminating statements. He revealed that sometime on Saturday, he went to a New York City hospital for a cut on his hand. He also stated in sum and substance that he and the victim argued and confessed to stabbing her and moving her body. Bonola then explained that he had done repair work at Orsolya's house before and he knew where she kept her spare key, and that is how he entered and committed the murder. Bonola allegedly said, "In the past, she told me she had sent a man to jail, so I sent a message to her husband pretending to be that guy because I was scared."
A message was sent from the victim's cell phone to the husband. That message was, as previously reported, that there had been a crime in the past.
I took her laptop because she had sex videos on the laptop. I threw her laptop in the Hudson River where I used to visit her. Orsolya's husband and the other son were away for the weekend. They were out of town touring college campuses. The younger son, Leo, was home, but it was unclear if he heard the argument and the killing in the basement. According to Essig, Orsolya went to see a show at Lincoln Center Friday night before returning to her neighborhood around 11:20 p.m. She stopped at a local bar, finally returning to her home at 12:20 a.m. Essig explained Bonola probably arrived at Orsolya's residence between 12:30 a.m. and 12:40 a.m. Investigators were unsure and tried to determine whether Orsolya led Bonola into the home or whether, like he claimed, he used a spare key that was kept in an outdoor grill to get inside. Bonola, a heating and air conditioning repairman who had also done work for Orsolya's family, allegedly told cops after being taken into custody that he knocked on her door. Bonola allegedly recalled, "She opened the door and asked me what I was doing there. I told her that I just wanted her to tell me the truth about why she gave me HIV. She said she didn't have HIV. He added Orsolya told him that their affair was over, and then she grabbed the knife and told him to leave her house or she would kill him. Bonola continued, "I grabbed the knife and cut her from the neck. She kept fighting and we fall. She was moving and trying to grab me, so I stabbed her in the neck to get her to stop attacking me."
A heated argument ensues between the two in the basement. A knife is brandished. A violent struggle ensues, resulting in our victim being stabbed ruthlessly and brutally in excess of 55 times.
Bonola had been charged with second-degree murder, first-degree criminal tampering, and fourth-degree criminal possession of a weapon. On the 2nd of November 2022, Bonola admitted to a charge of first-degree manslaughter, and he now faces up to 25 years in prison. He accepted a plea deal from the Queen's District Attorney's Office and pleaded guilty to manslaughter, not the murder. Queen's Supreme Court Justice Michael Alois said he would sentence the defendant to 25 years in prison plus 5 years of post-release supervision. Prosecutors and the district attorney said the pair started arguing and Bonola slashed Orsolya's throat before stabbing her a total of 58 times. In the court records, it was documented Bonola told police that he believed Orsolya gave him HIV over the course of their affair. Bonola allegedly commented, "She lied to me. She used me. She told me that she loved me. She couldn't be with one person." He also claimed Orsolya took a phone call from another guy and said she was going to see him without saying exactly when according to the court docs. Bonola added that it made him angry and he couldn't accept that. Once he was brought in for questioning, Bonola allegedly commented, "She was cheating on me with somebody and she gave me HIV. Bonola appeared before Queen's Supreme Court Justice Michael Alois where he pleaded guilty to manslaughter. He told the judge that he understood the nature of the crime he was admitting. By pleading guilty, you are stipulating to this court that on or about April 16, 2022, here in the County Queens, you did cause serious physical injury to Orsolya Gaal. You caused the death of Mrs. Gaal by stabbing her."
Caused the death of Mrs. Gaal by stabbing her. Did you do that? Yes, sir.
Bonola, a Mexican national, replied through a Spanish interpreter and said, "Yes, sir." The judge asked again, "You understand it all ends here?" Bonola thanked the judge and that was it. Police said Bonola had been living in the US illegally, as he was originally from Mexico. Queen's famous district attorney, Melinda Katz, was representing the Orsolya Gaal murder case as her attorney and provided a lot of evidence to help prove the case and convict the murderer. In criminal proceedings in general, it is important that the judge administers a penalty that is sufficient but not bigger than required, that the punishment reflected the gravity of the crime, that a sentence encourages respect for the law while discouraging criminal conduct in a proper way, and that it protects the public interest while providing the defendant with the ability for successful reintegration into society. District Attorney Melinda Katz indicated that the punishment fits the crime. Bonola will serve his entire sentence and he won't be released until he's almost 70 years old. And, as WABC mentioned, a murder conviction in New York is usually from 25 years to a life sentence. This sentence is close to that and without a trial. Katz gave a couple of statements concerning the case. This heinous killing devastated an entire family, left 2 boys without a mother, and horrified the surrounding community. I want to thank my prosecutors for their exhaustive efforts in securing this plea. We express our sincerest condolences to the victim's family and hope that today's plea will allow them to begin to heal. After the terrifying news of the murder was brought to the public, the area of Forest Park was completely shaken. People simply didn't expect to wake up to the horrifying news, and the way in which Orsolya Gaal was murdered left the whole district in fright. The safety of women in New York City started to be questioned, as well as the credibility of the police and legal authorities. It was later that a video appeared in which the killer was seen pushing the body down the sidewalks and leaving a bloody trail on the streets of Forest Hills, and evidence was discovered by the NYPD detectives, such as bloody bandages, boots, and a t-shirt that was used as a forensic evidence, and all of that led to catching the murderer David Bonola and convicting him in the court. One of Orsolya's friends shared their thoughts about the friendship. "I'll always remember how passionate you were about your boys and their education. I'm so sorry about how you left this world, but I hope you find peace in the afterlife." Another friend wrote, "A few years ago, you prayed for my little girl for me, and now I'm here praying for your family to be able to get through this tragedy." Orsolya Gaal's grieving husband, whose wife was butchered by a former handyman lover, was seen in public for the first time in May of the same year following her murder, walking his wife's dog. Howard Klein was photographed by the Post walking Teddy, Orsolya's beloved Labradoodle, outside the family's home in Forest Hills in Queens, where she was stabbed to death on April 16th. At a memorial service, Klein remembered his murdered wife as the most beautiful person. This concludes the True Crime Files case of Orsolya Gaal. Do you agree with the court's sentence, or do you think it should have been more or less than that? Join in on this video exploration of the case and post your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to our channel because that makes this video possible. And here is another video you might enjoy.